Sexual harassment, it is rampant in our organizations. And just recently, an allegation of sexual harassment has resurfaced from Governor Shapiro's office from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And so a lot of questions are now being raised about whether there was sexual harassment, and if so, what took so long to address it. I'm Karen Michael, and you're listening to The Job Judge. Welcome to The Job Judge, the podcast for anyone who works. I'm Karen Michael, your host of The Job Judge, where every week we navigate through all those legal landmines and workplace dysfunction that pretty sure is happening in your organization, one episode at a time. Our goal is to make workplaces work. Now, a couple ground rules. I am an employment attorney, but I cannot give legal advice on this program. It really is just general guidance. Also, we talk about sensitive subjects, including today, where I'm going to talk about a very specific allegation of sexual harassment. And for that reason, this podcast is not designed for young viewers. And then finally, you're not going to want to miss an episode of the Job Judge podcast. So be sure to subscribe, like, follow, comment. You're not going to want to miss an episode. Now let's talk about the allegations. So this kind of resurfaced when Governor Shapiro, the Democratic governor from Pennsylvania, was under consideration from presidential candidate Kamala Harris as to whether he could be her vice presidential pick. And a Democratic nominee for state treasurer in November's election, a woman from Pennsylvania, according to this article in the Philadelphia Inquirer, drew eyeballs when she stated in a tweet that she wanted a vice presidential pick who, among other things, doesn't sweep sexual harassment under the rug. Well, what was she talking about? Well, she was talking about Governor Shapiro. Well, what's going on? Well, according to the allegation, one of Governor Shapiro's top aides. Now, what's really important is this has nothing to do with politics. Governor Shapiro is a Democrat, and he's not been accused of any sexual harassment. But his top aide of decades long is a Republican, and he is the one accused of sexual harassment. You see, sexual harassment knows no party. They know no race. They know no gender. Sexual harassment can happen to anybody at any time by anyone. So understand there's not like a stereotype of who engages in this type of behavior. Allegedly, this aide, according to the article, abruptly stepped down in September, 3 weeks after Governor Shapiro's administration quietly agreed to pay $295,000 to settle claims from a governor's office employee who said that this aide made repeated sexual advances toward her and often spoke openly and lewdly about her, other staff members, and a female state senator. And there was all this controversy over whether or not Governor Shapiro's office had notice of some allegations and didn't actually respond to them properly. So what are the allegations? According to the Philadelphia Inquirer, who reported on the allegations and has seen a copy of her complaint. So this employee did file a complaint with the Human Relations Commission, I believe in June of 2023. And so let's talk about what those allegations are. Now, it's really important to note these are just allegations. I have not investigated them. I don't think that there was a conclusion rendered. There's no lawsuit because it was settled. So these are allegations, but let's talk about what these allegations are. In her statement that she made, the accuser detailed how she leaped at the chance to work for the Shapiro administration when she was offered a job in January 2023 after 19 years working in politics. It also goes on to say that she alleged, quote, he's a one-of-a-kind leader, and I felt compelled to work for this type of leader when offered the opportunity, she wrote of Governor Shapiro. I took a $25,000 pay cut to come into that role. So here's a woman who's willing to take a $25,000 pay cut because this opportunity is so great. She says, but within days, her excitement had turned into discomfort. This aide made repeated suggestive comments and innuendos that left her feeling uneasy. The accuser alleged that within weeks, other staffers in Shapiro's administration were making jokes about whether she was in a relationship with this aide and warned her that this aide had faced earlier misconduct accusations from women. Now, we don't know if that's true or not, but if that is true, that ticks me off because you've now set any other woman up for failure. Oh, well, maybe he was accused of something and he promised he would never do it again, or he denied. Okay. I want to know, was there an investigation? What was the finding? What did you do about it? If it's true. Again, we don't know if that's true, but that's what she was told, so that's why it's relevant. The accuser maintains that that she warned this aide because she's got a reputation to uphold. Her reputation matters. She doesn't want people to think that she's in some relationship with this man. She's there to work. She's not there to go have sex with this man. The accuser maintains that when she warned this man, this aide, about the office gossip in February 2023, he turned on her and demanded to know who had been discussing his past. He then made sexual advances towards her, the complaint states, insisting that if they decided to have a sexual relationship, it would be our business, quote, end quote. This is what he allegedly said, and this is quoted. If you decided you wanted to do that, meaning have a sexual relationship, go close the door to this office, tell me to bend over this conference table, hike up your skirt, and have sex with her, in brackets. That would be our decision to make. Gross. If that's true, that's reprehensible and disgusting. And it tells me this man's not serious about his job because he's spending time in a job that's kind of important by soliciting this woman, making these unwanted advances. How disgusting. She told investigators that he suggested she wear lower cut tops and higher slit skirts and compared her to another female staffer whom he said he wasn't interested in sexually because she was a type A personality who would, quote, probably make him iron her sheets and pillowcases before having sex. Quote, that's just not my style or the way I like to have sex, he supposedly said, according to the statement. When the accuser reiterated to this man that she was not interested in him, he uttered an obscenity and raised his middle finger. Who doesn't want to work here? Sounds like a great place to work. Sounds like a joy to work with. But there's more. Their conversation continued. I don't know, you'd call it a conversation. I would call it an attack. Their conversation continued later that night following a reception at the governor's mansion. An apparently inebriated aide, this aide, called her again to suggest a sexual encounter, saying he knew how to hide from security cameras in tunnels under the Capitol and to interrogate her about who in their office was talking about them. She said in her EEO interview with the Human Relations Commission. She told the commission, I was physically shaking in my office. I was fearful. I was not sleeping well. Of course you were. You are in a hostile working environment at the hands of somebody who's in a pretty important job. You should never have been put in this situation in the first place. You deserve a workplace free of this. Days after the encounter, the complaint says the accuser was invited to a meeting with Human Resources for the governor's office. When she questioned this aide about the meeting, he made vague references to, quote, performance concerns with her job, meaning she wouldn't perform sex with him in her job, and therefore there were performance concerns. That's kind of the definition of quid pro quo, by the way. The woman said she reported her encounters with this aide at that meeting with Human Resources on March 3rd and a subsequent meeting with other Shapiro administrative staffers on March 6th, but was confronted with vague allegations she was performing poorly in her job. So let's assume for a second it's true that she did report first time March 3rd, 2023. He left his office. He resigned September 27th, 2023. That's April, May, June, July, August, September. Why is he in his job 6 months? Now, what I want to hear is on March 3rd, we immediately put him on administrative leave. We conducted an objective, thorough investigation and found no finding of wrongdoing. And therefore, that's why he came back and still worked here. What I'm seeing is we brushed it under the rug and hoped it would go away. That's what I'm seeing. Now, the office says we've got this robust program of investigations. That's great. I hope that's true. There's no evidence of that because this man should not have still been in his job if any of these allegations are true. And I will tell you that $295,000 settlement from a state agency is nothing to sneeze at. That's real money. And that tells me there's there. But I don't know. I did not investigate these allegations. They are just allegations. This is what she said. She told investigators she ultimately decided to leave her position in early March. So I guess the Commonwealth thought, she's gone anyway. So what are we going to do? You're going to still investigate because this man is not safe to be working in your organization if the allegations are true. After less than 2 months in the role. So she's there all of 2 months and she endures all of this harassment in just 2 months. This is an example, if the allegations are true, of a sexual predator. That's what sexual predators do. They immediately jump onto somebody right away and they start with their nonsense right away to see and test the waters and see what they can get. It's truly repulsive. When staffers refused her request to be reassigned to a different position with limited contact with him. No, ma'am, we can't reassign you. Sorry, you're going to have to work with him. Suck it up. You've got performance issues, by the way. Is that how this was handled? In her statement, she said she decided to come forward in hopes of preventing other women from having to face the same treatment. How sad that this woman has to be the one that comes forward, because she said, I'm scared of what he will do, the rumors he will spread. I'm scared for my professional career. I'm putting it all on the line because I'm fearful. He will do this to someone else. You're right. He will. And it's absolutely disgusting. And what's also disgusts me is in the notice that the governor's office put out of this man's resignation, it's flowers and rainbows. He's a wonderful person. They talk about how he has been a key member of our team, and thanks to his dedicated service, the governor's office is prepared for the work ahead. We wish him all the best, and we are grateful for his service. And it goes on and on and on about what an incredible assistance he has been to Governor Shapiro. No. When somebody resigns in disgrace, which seems like this guy did, it should be he's no longer working here. That's all we should say. Now, if he's sexually harassed somebody, we should say he has been asked to resign due to allegations of misconduct. That's what I would want to see. You're a state agency. There should be transparency. Now, yes, investigations are confidential. And maybe this woman didn't want all that to happen, honestly. But these allegations are very serious. There is a simple protocol that you need to follow in your organizations. And I'm going to tell you exactly what that is. Number one, you need a policy that clearly delineates that harassment will not be tolerated, along with a very robust complaint procedure guaranteeing people they will not be retaliated against. And then you need to share that policy. So many times when I interview employees, I'll say, did you know that there was a policy against harassment or discrimination? And they'll say, well, I guess I knew. They don't know. Nobody shares this with them. And then you need to conduct robust, interactive training on those expectations with employees and with managers. Call me. This is my jam. This is what I do. I'd love to come into your organization. And I promise at the end of those 2 hour or 3 hour, however long they are, trainings, everyone knows what the rules are. There's never going to be one of these things happening in your organization because everyone understands exactly what is expected. And then upon the first allegation of any of the violations of your policy being made to human resources or a manager sees a violation happening, there needs to be an immediate investigation. And it needs to be thorough and objective and fair. People aren't guilty until proven innocent. And then depending on the findings, if there is a finding of misconduct, especially something like this person's got to go. I do not trust a person like this to be able to get a final warning and be able to stay and hopefully don't do it again. These are too serious and he's too senior. And even though that might hurt Governor Shapiro because he needs this guy, maybe he was valuable aide, that is not nearly as important as showing that you are not going to tolerate this kind of abuse in your workplaces. And now it's time for our segment on Ask the Job Judge, where I'm going to read a scenario and then I'll be the judge of that. Sometimes I read a question I get on TikTok or Instagram. By the way, be sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram. I post lots of additional content on those social media platforms. Sometimes people write to me at Karen@thejobjudge.net. I can read questions from there that I might read on the podcast. This one struck my eye though, because it just was posted on the jobs site on Reddit. And this guy posted the question, did I just get fired? And he communicated with his supervisor via text message, and his supervisor responded, and he posted the communication, and he wants to know whether he was fired based on this communication. And this is what happened. He sent to his supervisor or the owner or somebody in charge, hello, I am currently in the ER with my sister and may not come into work today. I'll do my best, but if I do, it will be a couple hours late. I let this person, I don't know if this person's his supervisor, whoever she is, know, and the group chat know. This is what the manager said. No need to. I have plenty of employees who are wanting to work, seeing as today is our grand opening. Calling in after your shift starts is unacceptable. Thank you for your time, but we won't be needing your assistance. Is this man fired? I'll be the judge of that. And the answer is probably he is fired. But that's not the question here. The bigger point is the boss is a big jerk and doesn't know how to manage people. Because the proper response is, I'm so sorry to hear that. Let's talk about this when you come in, because he said in this Reddit post that he was scheduled to work the following Friday. Let's talk about this Friday. And on Friday, when he comes in, you're going to ask him questions. You're going to say, when did you first notify somebody? What was going on? Maybe he's got suspicions. I mean, I understand this manager's frustration. It's opening day. We need all hands on deck. I understand why there is frustration. That makes sense to me. But disciplining an employee, firing an employee via social media or text message or something like that, that's not the professional correct way to do something, especially with this passive aggressive, am I fired? Am I not fired? Do I have a job? Do I not have a job? That's not the right way to do this. So the right way to do it, even if you have suspicions, I mean, the worst case scenario, you could get a doctor's note to prove that this person was in the emergency room. I mean, that might sound jerky, but it's less jerky than firing somebody via text message. I mean, I'm sensitive to the fact that maybe this guy's got suspicions. I don't know. But you bring him in on Friday and you have a conversation. And then after you do your little investigation, you make a decision on whether or not this guy's going to be fired, written up, what the situation is. But this just sounds like a really bad, frustrated and probably stressed out boss, but a really bad boss. That's not the way to handle it. So if you're a manager and you are frustrated with an employee like this, you wait to bring them in. And maybe you say, well, I don't want to bring them in. I want to do it by phone. I want to fire them by, you at least call them and have a conversation and find out what's going on and what happened. So you can at least do your due diligence, find out the facts before jumping to conclusions, because everyone deserves fairness. The employee deserves fairness, and so does the employer. We need to show up when we're supposed to show up, especially on a big day like grand opening, but things come up. Life happens. Stuff happens. Everyone's not committing fraud. Some people have stuff happen in their life that they can't come into work. We need to plan for that. That could happen. So the most important message I want managers to hear is that you need to get the whole story before you jump to judgment. And that is not the right way to communicate with your employee. If you plan to fire the employee, then there's a way to do it. That's not it. No, we drop a episode of The Job Judge every single week. You're not going to want to miss an episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, comment so you don't miss an episode. I'm Karen Michael, and you've been listening to The Job Judge.